Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Positively Dizzy podcast. I'm Kimberly Bouchard, your host and the author of the Positively Dizzy book series. Thank you so much for stopping by this evening. I am super excited about my guest tonight, and I will get to that in a little bit. Before I go on, I just want to thank you again for coming by, and to my sponsor, Michelle Bicone, over at Years of Experience, who will put together a delightful vacation, a dream vacation, and will even do curated travel for you that are specialized, exotic places for you. And she is very, very astute at meeting your bucket list needs on those travels and providing, I guess, 24/7 care, really, as she is very much a texting, accessible, walking travel agent for your whole vacation. You can reach her at 732-735-1779 or at mmckeown at themouseexperts.com. Oh, I just want to say hi quickly to Jesslyn. Thanks for stopping by tonight, Jesslyn. You know, I had an email today from my friend Margaret Carey, and Margaret Carey is actually the original Tinkerbell. She was reminding me that today, February 5th in 1953, so 68 years ago, Tinkerbell made her debut. And I think, wow, 68 years ago, and she's such an icon. You know, there's various characters, you know, that come and go, or I should say maybe put on the back burner for a while. But boy, Tinkerbell's sure been out there. But 2 years prior to that, Margaret was called up to become the agent in which Mark Davis, the animator extraordinaire and genius and gentleman, as Margaret refers to him as, uh, worked with Margaret. And anything that you see, especially in the original Tinkerbell, with the how she strutted and how she pouted and how she turned and moved about, that was all based on Margaret's, I guess, pantomime types of movements and that. And they would be in a very large studio where they had big, kind of like if you imagine an industrial garage or whatever, with large doors to bring in camera equipment and things like that. But something that was interesting about that studio was a fellow that she noticed. Buddy Ebsen was in the building. Now, Buddy Ebsen, you may remember from Beverly Hillbillies. He was also Davy Crockett's sidekick, George. And Buddy was actually quite a prolific dancer. And so at that particular time when Margaret was in her doing her thing, Buddy was doing some dancing, and they were actually working on the audio animatronics. What you see today in the parks is a result of that experimentation and things of that nature with Buddy Ebsen. So I thought that was kind of funny. But also interesting is this last weekend, I actually was right beside what was Buddy Ebsen's home in Balboa Island in California, Newport Beach. I was right in front of his house, and it reminded me of sort of an old time house with a white clapboard, green trim, very neat and tidy, with little rose bushes. With the house, the roof basically was used as part of the house as well. And I thought it was kind of interesting that I was actually just there in front of what was his house last weekend. And here we've got a bit of a tie-in with Margaret Carey, Tinkerbell. And Jesslyn's saying that she met Buddy's daughter. She's a singer. Well, it's no doubt that there's something in the family continuing in that department. Kiki Ebsen is her name. Jesslyn, I'll have to talk to you a little bit more about that when I'm off the air. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the character Goofy. And I have only, unfortunately, a couple of Goofies plushes. One is over my shoulder, and then I have another one in a plaid outfit holding a Canadian flag. I got at the Canadian Pavilion a few years ago. And Goofy, I have to tell you, is becoming one of my favorite characters as well. I mean, all of you know that Mickey has my heart, Donald Duck's my guy, but gosh, Goofy gives the best hugs, doesn't he? And I remember as a child going into the theaters, in my local theaters in Londonderry Mall in Edmonton, Alberta. And before the feature films, we would see the different cartoons. And Goofy, you gotta love him. He just gets himself into all kinds of shenanigans. And he's a real underdog, isn't he? But he means well, and he's got a heart of gold. And I think that's why so many of us fall in love with him. And also, he just looks goofy. So you can't help but giggly. But I do know that in my different character meet and greets in the park, Goofy, he just hangs on tight. Another one that's kind of close to Goofy is Chewbacca. So I guess maybe the bigger they are, the bigger the hugger. I'm not too sure, but anyways, I just wanted to share that with you. Something that I was surprised at in learning a little bit more about Goofy is his full name is G.G. Goofy Goof. So he has a father named Amos Goofy. Amos Goof, and he's got two nephews, Arizona and Gilbert. Gilbert Goof. Yeah, those are his two nephews, which, I don't know, but I just kind of was aware of Goofy and his son, Max Goofy. He also has a grandmother and a mother, and basically they're just called Grandma Goof and Mother Goof, for lack of other words or names for them. But I just thought that was kind of neat. And Goofy has actually evolved over the years. These are some of his aliases: Dippy Dog, Goofus D Dog, Goofy G Goof, Super Goof, George G Geef, and then what we have today is just Goofy. And I can't imagine calling him anything but Goofy, because to me, that's who he is. Dan, welcome to the show. Dan, Heather, Goofy is my favorite, Dan says. Yeah, he is a lot of people's favorites, I've discovered over the years. And Heather as well says Goofy is her absolute favorite. I'm curious to know, what is it, guys, about Goofy that makes him your favorite? I know that he's starting to become one of mine, as I mentioned before. And, I love how he is costumed, because his oversized feet and his long, long ears just really bring out his personality. And of course, his teeth and all of that. I think it's just really fun. And I don't know who the actual creator was of Goofy. I'm going to have to ask Bill that. I have to tell you this before we get Bill on, but the other day I was calling his cell, and I had to leave a message, and it was so fun, and it was so startling to me to actually hear Goofy kind of in the conversation on the phone. And it's just something, I mean, of course, why wouldn't Goofy be on the other end of the phone when I was leaving a message? But it did take me by surprise, and I just get a real kick out of it, because whenever I talk to Bill and his lovely wife Jennifer, and Bill's on the line, I hear Goofy in his voice, and it's kind of neat that there, that he has embodied that character so much that his voice really comes out in conversations. And he's just a lovely human that I will introduce you to in a moment. We're going to get him on the line. So I was just wondering, Lauren says Goofy, she has heard Goofy's, I guess, in the Vault, the interview on Disney Vault Talk as well with Bill. And she was wondering what it was like recording for a Goofy movie. I'll try and answer those questions with him, or ask those questions so he knows.
Hello.
Hi, Bill. Welcome to the show. It's Kimberly Bouchard. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fine. And you?
I'm great. Thanks, Bill. I was just telling the listeners how fun it was to call and leave a message on your phone yesterday, and I was so startled to hear Goofy, and I don't know, I just, of course, why wouldn't I? But I just wasn't expecting it, so it made me laugh.
Yeah, he makes an appearance around here quite often.
I was wondering about that. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I think Goofy must be just, part of the family there.
Absolutely, a big part of this family. Yeah,
Yeah.
for 34 years now. So.
That is incredible. I'm just curious to know if you read to your son when he was little, and if Goofy might have taken over once in a while.
Oh, absolutely, and all
Oh,
sorts of voices. I would add
okay.
voices to all of the stories that I would read him, whether it was Dr. Seuss or any other little book. I would definitely do all the characters, and
Oh.
he probably. I don't know if he thought I was weird or
Oh.
he thought that every dad did this.
Oh.
I don't know.
Well, he knows now that not every dad did that because.
That's right. Yes.
Oh, Bill, I was wondering what was your first experience with Disney, like knowing and learning about Disney? Like, did you watch the films, or did you watch the TV shows like most of us, or how did you kind of
Oh,
have that?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I grew up in a little town in south central Kansas. And so kind of a little farming community. So it's
Mhm.
like a million miles away from Hollywood.
Right.
And we had one theater, and I loved going to the theater. And of course, in the old black and white TV days, I would watch cartoons. And my favorites were the Disney cartoons. And my favorite character was Goofy in those days, watching the
Oh.
wonderful world of color,
Uh-huh.
and originally in black and white
Yeah.
until we got a color set.
Yeah.
And of course, the movies were always a big influence. I love the live action stuff as well as of course, Bambi and
Mm.
Peter Pan and all of the ones which we saw on the screen at our one theater in town.
Okay.
And that was real. But I like the Absent-Minded Professor was one of
Oh,
my favorite
yeah.
early pictures I remember, and I tried to make flubber out of whatever
Oh.
chemistry set and
Oh,
failed miserably.
oh.
Uh,
Yeah, I remember those chemistry sets. I remember one Christmas, my sister got the one that you make these kind of jelly things that you could eat, like jelly bugs, like the molds. And I
yeah.
just did. I don't know if it worked for you. It worked for us, and I did try them, but it was kind of not my thing to have sort of a jelly rubbery bug.
Yeah, I tried to not eat anything that I made in
Oh,
my chemistry set. That was a little risky.
yeah, it was for sure. Bill, now, I mean, that's so fun that you actually liked, had an affinity for the character Goofy. I mean, who was to know years down the road that you would become Goofy? You would embody Goofy.
Ye-
Gosh.
Maybe that's why I practiced the voice. I found early on that I could kind of do impressions and mimic voices quite easily. And so I guess maybe I just tried to do Goofy's voice, and gosh, it just came kind of easy to me. And I don't know.
Oh, Carn, gee, that's so amazing. One thing I was wondering. So you like to do the voices of Goofy when you were very young, but did you always want to be a voice actor? I mean, did you know about voice acting back then?
I knew enough about it from television series that I think we all knew Mel Blanc's name with
Right.
a lot of the Warner Brothers characters, Bugs Bunny and
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
because we saw his name in the title of the cartoon.
Mhm.
But usually the credits in those days, before VHS and you couldn't stop the picture,
Yeah.
it was hard to figure out who did what. It was
Mhm.
almost impossible, and it wasn't until I was grown that I really figured out who a lot of these actors were.
Oh,
But
okay.
even back in the old days, I knew that it was a very important part for me to have the right voice for the right character. And I
Yeah.
remember with watching the Flintstones,
Okay.
Alan Reed, who was the voice of Fred Flintstone,
Yeah.
passed away,
Yeah.
and they had to get a new voice. And it
Right.
just wasn't the same for me. It
Yeah.
was very there was just something was lost. It was
Mm-hmm.
a good impression, but
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't the same. And
Yeah.
I think it's very important to have the right voice for the right character.
Oh, absolutely. You know what, Bill? I have to tell you, I learned French. A lot of my French came from learning off of Flintstones in French, which is Pierre Le Feu. And I'll tell you
Oh, really?
that, yeah, well, married to a French Canadian, you kind of got to learn the language when the in
Yes.
laws don't speak French,
Yes.
But I remember thinking, no, 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 that's not Barney. That's not Fred. And my husband, I mean, that's all he knew. And he was saying the opposite, that it wasn't Fred and Barney in the English version. So it's so
Right.
yeah, it's so
Yes.
true. You need that voice, that matches the character. So, did you study radio, or did you study any kind of I guess training
Oh,
before
yes.
you
Oh,
did?
yes.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. My degree, when I went to, I wanted to be an actor. I didn't specifically think a voice actor. I thought doing that would be an amazing job. But again, in the middle of Kansas, there's no outlet for that. So the
Mm,
closest that I felt that I might be able to get into show business would be in radio. And
okay.
my degree actually is in journalism. And after college, I kicked around for a number of years as a DJ and a chief engineer. I also had a minor in electronics
Hmm.
in radio stations in Texas and Oklahoma and Kansas.
Hmm.
And it was great training because in those little dinky stations, they would say, okay, do these commercials, you got to do those, and pretty much else, whatever you can do. So I
Mm.
would come up with characters,
Oh.
and I would, especially country stations that I
Mm.
was at, I'd start doing Pat Buttram and, hey, Bill, how
Oh
are
my
you
God.
doing? And
Yeah.
they should doing Jimmy Stewart and all of those kind of voices. And I would, say, hey, Jimmy Stewart just dropped in. And I would just kind of do these characters
Oh my
and never
gosh.
thinking that it would really amount to anything. It was just kind of fun.
Wow.
And I did that for a few years,
Mhm.
got out of that and into electronics for about 3 or 4 years. And then back in, I can remember the date, it was actually March 17th of 1982
Mm.
is the day that I went up on stage at a comedy club in Dallas to try my hand at stand up.
Oh.
And I said, this is as close to show business as I'm going to get. I'm going to give it a shot.
Okay.
And I kept going back to the club. And before too very long, 6 months or 7 months,
Mm.
I started traveling around as a stand up comic and did that for about 5 years until I came out to Hollywood on the advice of an agent that I was able to get in Dallas who said, all the voices you do, you ought to go out to Hollywood
Right.
and give it a shot.
Right.
So I did. I came out and I was going to give it a couple of years to see what happened. And about 5 months after getting here,
Mhm.
my agent said, do you do any of the Disney characters? There's
Mm.
an audition coming up.
Oh.
At the time, they had 4 or 5 guys doing Mickey Mouse and 4 or 5 guys doing Donald
Mhm.
and Goofy and Pluto and all of them. And Roy Disney and Michael Eisner had decided that they had wanted to settle on one actor. So you always heard the same thing because it is an
Right.
important part of the whole thing
Right.
is the voice, it's the
Right.
personality.
Right.
And I just, I can kind of do a Goofy, and I'll try that. And out of about 1,100 people or so, they like mine.
Oh,
And
gee.
ever since that first time back in January of '87,
Wow.
they've been using me. So
That's
and they're
so
still using me.
yeah.
So I guess I have the job.
Yeah. Well, that's something that is so wonderful in that in this profession, you can go for years and years and years. I mean, it's not over
Yeah.
till it's over, really, unless you want it to be over. But I just think that it's such a gift, really to be able to first bring that to the character, because I'm seeing comments on here, Bill, and people just say, Goofy always makes them smile. They're always, think something hilarious is going to happen. Of course, it always does. And, has loved all the everyman cartoons, the sports cartoons, and just,
Yeah.
and Goofy, believe it or not, has got a lot of special places in people's hearts. that have, I guess, lost loved ones that had Goofy as their favorite character,
Yes.
and so it's really quite like Goofy is way more than just the Goofy character. What I've been seeing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Of probably all the projects I've ever done, the most requested thing or people bring up to me
Mm,
is a Goofy movie, which we did back in '95,
right.
and that was without fail. If I talk to a group of people, someone will say, that movie was so great. It was, like me and my dad, we didn't talk, but that became our movie. And we'd play the soundtrack on trips and it brought us together.
Ah,
And it's amazing that after all these years, it's still as popular as it was back then, even more so in some ways.
I think so. Yeah.
It's just really amazing.
Yeah.
Really amazing.
In your time being the voice of Goofy and Pluto, which
Hmm.
is so fun,
Oh, yes.
what
And many other ones.
and many others, I should say. Yes,
Mhm.
I know we could probably talk for hours about this for time constraints, Goofy and Pluto. So, is there anything that surprised you during during your time, I guess, in so far in being Goofy or Pluto?
Well, there were surprises in the beginning on the process, on how it was,
Mm.
and probably the most important thing that I've learned I didn't know when I started is that it's really more about the acting than it is the voice. If
Okay.
you have to have the voice, and people always ask me about getting into voiceover, and
Mm.
I've taught voiceover, and my son's an audio engineer, and we've done demos for people.
Hmm.
And the most important thing is that it's not just doing the voice. It's kind of like the way I tell people, it's like people come to me and people say, people say I have a great voice and I should be a voice artist.
Mm.
And I say, well, that's kind of like saying I have a really great guitar. I should be a
Oh.
guitarist. But it's
Oh.
how you play that. It's
Mm.
how you use that instrument.
Mm.
That's the important part. And I learned very early on that it's more about the emotion of the character
Mhm.
and the personality you give that character than it is about the voice. But the voice is obviously very important too.
Right, right.
But it's the personality more.
Well, and I think that, gosh, being a stand-up comic, I think that just enhanced what you do, really.
Oh, absolutely. It was probably the best training I ever had. And I always tell people, if they can, get on stage in front of something. You learn so much from an audience. You find out what's funny and what isn't. And if you have a line that you really like, you want to make it as funny as possible.
Mhm.
And it's the way you say it. It's
Right,
the cadence, the
right.
timing, and all of that.
Mhm.
And when you're in a booth doing a cartoon and they give you a script, you've got to kind of look at that script and know the way to almost instantly say that line to
Mhm.
get the most out of it.
Right.
And if you can learn that, I think it helps a lot.
Yeah, when you're preparing for a session, I mean, there's a variety of voice actors. Some of them do a kind of a quick read through the day before, but
Hmm.
and others like to, and then keep it as organic as possible. Because I think, how do you do it? How do you approach that, Bill?
It depends on the character. Goofy, since I've been doing him on thousands of shows and things,
Yeah.
he's like a brother to me. It's like
Okay.
we're
Joined at the
melding
hip.
into one.
Yeah.
I know exactly how Goofy would say something, so I can just take a script I just got,
Mm.
which happens from time to time, and
Mhm.
just boom, I have to do it.
Mhm.
I know how he would say it. I know the inflection,
Mhm.
and I'll usually do a line maybe 3 times in a row,
Mhm.
and they'll say, "Oh, I like take A or B or C,"
Right.
and then we'd move on to the next line.
Mm.
In the old days, we recorded ensemble. Everyone would be in the
Oh.
studio at the same time, and we'd do it like a radio play. But
Oh.
now, just because of everyone's, especially with COVID, where I have to record here from my house in my home studio,
Right.
and I don't even go into the studio,
Right.
and I'm not in the room. Let's say, Mickey says, "Come on, Goofy, let's go," and I said, "Come on, whoa, gosh, where are we going?"
Yeah.
I I can't hear him. I just have to know the way that Mickey would say something
Right.
and respond, and
Yeah.
then rely on the director. Oh no, he's 30 feet away, so I might get a little louder,
Yeah.
or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
But because
Ah,
it's all in your mind, because we're not watching a cartoon, we
right.
do the voices first.
Right. Right. Gosh, that's quite a lot of work involved. It is not just doing the voice. It is becoming that character to make
Oh,
it
it
work, right?
really is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow. This,
and
yeah.
especially with I was going to say, especially with a character, a legacy character that Goofy's been around since 1932.
Wow.
So I kind of had to follow the way that Pinto Colvig had done the voice and
Right.
others had done the voice,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of add my own thing to it. On
Yeah.
other shows where you get to create a character,
Mm.
then it's wide open. You can kind of interpret it how you want and create the character.
Right.
But these are very special characters, and it takes special care, and make sure you do it right
Right.
with a Disney character.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, you're the steward of that character for sure, and take it
Absolutely.
very
Yes.
seriously. Love it. There's a guest on here. She's asking about ordering hamburgers by doing cool voices at drive-throughs. I don't know. Have you ever done
I
that?
used to do that.
Oh, did you?
I would do that. Yes, I would. I don't do that too much anymore, but I get asked to do the voice all the time.
Oh,
But when I was young, I
yeah.
would do an impression like, it'd be like, Pat Buttram would be ordering a burger at Burger King, and I like a Whopper with cheese, and my friends would laugh or impersonate teachers and all of that. Yeah, I got in trouble a lot when I was young doing voices.
You were interpreting teachers. Oh, okay. That would have.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure those were probably the ones that maybe weren't as favorable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I try not to do the impression around them. So,
Yeah, of course.
But,
oh my goodness.
sometimes they'd find out.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, if you, I would imagine teachers seem to be all knowing sometimes, aren't they?
Yeah.
What is?
I hear you do an impression of me.
Yeah.
Let me hear it. Oh, yes. Put you on the spot.
Oh dear. I mean, I think there must be a lot, but what is your favorite part of this profession, Bill? What you do?
The fact that it's probably the fact that every script is different. It never gets boring. It's intense while you're doing it. You have to focus. But the people, I mean, all of the other actors, especially with Disney, it's like a family. It really is a family atmosphere, and they become your friends and coworkers, and it's just like playing with your friends. And the more fun I have doing it, I think the more fun comes through in the performance, and the more the audience will enjoy it. So
Oh yeah.
it's just a blast doing it. There's nothing that I don't enjoy about it.
Right. Yeah,
It can be tiring sometimes, but
Yeah.
that's any job.
right. Exactly. Is there anything special you do to get ready? I mean, do you drink hot drinks or cold drinks or eat a green apple? I mean, you hear about all these different things that people do.
Generally, I just try and not rip the cords out. It's tougher to do Pluto than it is Goofy, because it's that barking, and it's like whoa, whoa, and if you do that for about an hour, you start sounding like this a little bit.
Yeah.
And so we always do Goofy first and then do Pluto. So just
Okay.
not stressing the vocal cords too much is the main thing. But I
Gosh.
don't really do anything. I'll usually have a coffee or a warm tea when I'm performing, to kind of keep the vocal cords loosened up, and to kind of also loosen up on the way to the gig. I'll sing along with the radio, because
Okay.
it's just like jogging, and you got to warm up before you go running, or you'll pull a muscle, and you can certainly pull a vocal cord too if you're not warmed up properly.
It's something just occurred to me. I'm trying to think. Has Goofy ever sung? Like, do you sing?
Oh, many times.
I
Yeah.
thought Goofy
Oh,
sung.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I did 2 songs in a Goofy movie, and I've done
Right.
probably about 25 albums for Disney over the years. We used to do, especially in the 90s, we'd come out with the little cassette things. We'd sing all sorts of things. camping songs or food songs or classical
Right.
songs or Christmas songs. We've done several Christmas albums. So
Right.
yes, we've done a lot of singing
Okay.
over the years.
Gosh.
Uh-huh.
So not only are you the voice, but you also had to know how to sing. Do you dance?
Yeah, luckily you don't really expect Goofy to be a great singer, so I didn't feel too much
Oh,
pressure.
okay.
But I can carry a tune, and
Okay.
we can do it until I do it right.
Okay. Oh, that's great. Speaking of these lovely, Goofy and Pluto being dogs, you were the star of the dog. It's a Dog's Life on Disney Plus, and any of you out
Yes.
there that are watching, check out. It's a Dog's Life on Disney Plus. And Bill, I thought you had the greatest job in the world, honestly, because I'm a huge dog lover, and you got to visit. Maybe I'll have you tell the show. Tell us about the show a little bit.
Well, it came about a couple of years ago. I am a big dog lover, and I came up with the idea that, maybe I could step out from behind the microphone as a Disney dog and find out about dogs that have real jobs. And it actually came about. A friend of mine asked me to be the host of a little TV show up in Reno, Nevada, that he was going to do for television. And we just happened to be filming at an equestrian center where they get horses, and they almost go on those old fox hunts, but they've got some dogs, the old hounds, there's no foxes up there. It's just to exercise the dogs and stuff.
Okay.
But I started kind of doing weird voices and fun stuff with the dogs, and that footage jumped out at us and said, why don't we do a show about dogs? And we put together an idea. We went to Disney. We pitched the idea, and they bought it. They wanted 10 episodes, and we spent all of 2019 and January and February of 2020 doing these shows all over the United States, talking about dogs that have jobs. And I got buried in the snow in Telluride, Colorado with avalanche dogs.
Oh.
We went to the mayor of Rabbit Hash, Kentucky, is a dog. There are guide dogs for the blind. There are dogs that find lost pets. There's all sorts of amazing jobs that dogs have, and we explored that. And this series is on Disney Plus, and it's called "It's a Dog's Life" with Bill Farmer.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of it, and it was a lot of fun to do.
Yeah. Well, I just think it was such a natural. If any TV show should you be a host of, that's the perfect one, because really, and it was just so fun because I've had dogs for over 50 years, but I never. To be honest with you, I knew about sheep herding dogs and things like, the special needs, for special needs and that, but I didn't occur to me most of those jobs that the dogs did
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And right now there are COVID sniffing dogs. It can tell if you have COVID. It's amazing what their sense of smell can do. I was amazed at a bloodhound that we did a show with. Finds lost pets. And let's say your dog walked through a park, and this dog could follow that scent trail up to 3 weeks later. And let's say there's 100 other dogs running. He can pick that one scent out of that one dog and follow that and find the lost pet.
Wow.
It's totally amazing what they can do.
I got to check out that episode because I didn't watch the whole thing because it's just been a little bit busy for me on my end, but I'm definitely going to be watching the rest of them for sure. I was just curious to know, you've had, let's see, how many years? 34 years.
34.
That's incredible. Do you have any sort of memorable moments that, or stories from your career that maybe one or two?
Well, there's so many.
Yeah.
The first time I ever did the voice was January 23rd of 87. I'll remember that because I was scared. I'd never been in a big recording studio. I met the voice of Donald Duck, Tony Anselmo, who is also an animator. And he was drawing Donald, just kind of doodling around, and artists are always drawing. And I looked at that, and I can't draw a stick figure.
Oh.
And I thought to myself, well, we don't have to draw these guys too, do we?
No.
Oh, lucky. I said, someone's made a horrible mistake. And meeting celebrities is fun sometimes. It's amazing how they can be just like big kids when they meet me. And I'm thinking, I remember John Denver coming up once,
Oh.
and I signed a little Goofy for his daughter, and he was just like a big kid. Christina Aguilera is a big fan, and she came over to me and just was like all giddy, and I was giddy meeting her. So, and we even did on our Mickey and the Roadster Racers a couple of years ago. One of the guest stars was Alice Cooper, believe it or
for
not.
crying out loud.
And you think this big, welcome to my nightmare, those things.
Yeah.
But he loves Disney, and everyone loves Disney, it seems like, and they're like big kids when they even meet me. And I'm a big kid meeting them.
Yeah.
So it's amazing that the voice will, it carries. And when we talk to kids in hospitals, we do that from time to time.
Right.
And, when we get asked for a sick child that wants to talk with Goofy or Pluto or Mickey or whoever,
right.
We'd be glad to help out.
Yeah.
And just the magic comes alive when you're on the phone with a child and one-to-one. And it's so real and it's so special that those kind of little moments are what I remember the most.
Gee, I love that, Bill. That just warms my heart, We're kind of coming up to our half hour here, but I wanted to ask you, is there any special message from Goofy that he would like to impart to our listeners, do you think?
Oh, yeah. He always say, Gorge, well, everybody, there's this here virus out there, that COVID stuff, and my friend Bill just got his first COVID shot today, and he's feeling pretty good. So it looks like we're about at the end of this thing, or at least I hope so. So be real good, get your shots, and let's get through this thing so we can go back and see each other.
Bill, I just can't get over how, I think about the voice as another language, in a sense that, there's some people that are just so gifted to go back and forth in their in either native language, second language, you know what I mean? Like they just go back and forth in different languages. And I think to me, it seems like the same idea, same principle of going back and forth in, but as this other person that is, well, if you call Goofy a person,
he is. He's as real as any personality. I think. And it is kind of fun. I always think that, well, Goofy's famous, I'm not, but I get to hang around with him.
Yeah, I like that. When you were doing a couple of your other voices, it really took me back to my childhood. Honestly, watching those black and whites, because we didn't have a color TV for years and years. I mean, those were something that was very expensive, and but saying what you said, using those characters, Jimmy Stewart and the other fellow, it just it made me smile and giggle inside, because I thought, well, first of all, those guys never would have said what you said, because we didn't have those particular things, the technology or the particular items you were mentioning, we didn't have Whoppers back in back when they were, on the screen, right? So I just thought that was so fun. And I just think it's been an absolute delight, Bill, having you this evening. And I'm so glad that you could share a glimpse of your life, because I know it's a very full life and a very lovely life. And I thank you so much for taking the time with us and making a lot of people smile and giggle as well that are watching tonight.
Oh, I'm just so happy that people enjoy what I do. I feel so blessed that I'm able to do this and help people out, and hopefully bring a smile to someone that needs it. That's the best part of the job. Yeah. And I'll keep doing it as long as they want me to.
Yeah, so. That's great. Well, listen, all the best, Bill, and we'll be talking to you guys on the sooner side. So you take care.
All righty.
All right. Thanks. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh gosh, you guys, that isn't that so fun? It's really, I think when you just are a part of something for 34 years, um I just understand how that can really become a part of you. And I really Bill is one of the nicest people. I'm very blessed to do what I do, and have the good fortune really to meet the good people in the world, and I really love that. So these voices, I mean, these are the iconic voices that make the characters who they are. And it just absolutely warms my heart to hear about the giving back, to especially children in the hospitals and that, and making the phone calls. I can just, I can only imagine how much happiness and joy that brings to a child on the other end of the phone. When this whole interview tonight brought me so much joy and laughter, and I really am glad that you guys could join us tonight and have a listen to Bill. So I'm going to be wrapping up the show, but next week I have a double Valentine's special for you guys. Two couples that Disney was a huge part of, not only the engagement, but also the wedding. Two very different stories. And I hope you can join me next week, because it's going to be a lot of fun as well. So, guys, just until we see each other again next week, please be safe, be well, take care, and God bless. Bye for now.